you, John. For all the money I've paid you, I hope you will give me a couple more wins and a couple more championships. First, Rennie, thank you very much. Thank the committee for feeling that I am privileged to be a part of this group. I want to also thank my fellow inductees. To the tables I have here, we had some people come a long way to visit, and I want to thank Mark Ceruto and that Milburn group of guys over there, the Buppies. Thanks for coming up. I want to introduce the new St. John's coaching staff, and that's the new head coach is Mike Hampton. Mike, stand up. Okay. We got baseball people here. Mike has been for 19 years. He's going to do a fabulous job there. Dan Bethay and George Brown. So thank you guys. Carry on the tradition. Mike Fahid was one of my student assistant coaches, one of my best buddies there. I cannot ask for a better sports administrator than Mike Barry, so Michael is here tonight as well. I have two good friends from high school here that we go back several years, and that's Bruce Trieber and my best buddy Keith Turner, and also a Hall of Famer, Broadcasting Hall of Famer. They're here tonight, as well as a fellow Seton Hall player, in Marty Caffrey. Marty played with me at Seton Hall. We went to the World Series together. He played in the Yankees farm system. And Annette, the better half, thank you very much for coming tonight. Lastly, to my family, my brother Mark is here all the way from Orlando. Thanks, Mark, for coming up. And my son, who is now an assistant coach at Duke. And I want to thank the scouting community for taking him under his wing. My son was a scout in the Brew organization for 3 years, and these fine guys kind of broke him in and taught him the game of baseball the way it should be played, in my opinion. Thank them, and my lovely wife for putting up with my nonsense for all these years. From the famous words of Lou Cornsecker, if you're a St. John's person, you want to be a good coach? Get good players. It's that simple. It's that simple. And I watch all these analysts, and I've been a part of the pro development organization for 2 years with the Mets, and I had the pleasure of managing the Brooklyn Cyclones in 2021, having their best prospects in Francisco Alvarez, Ronnie Mauricio, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos. You want good players, you want to be a good coach, get good players, and that's bottom line. And I don't care if you look at any analytics in the world, okay, the bottom line is get good players. They'll figure it out for you. It's all about recruiting. And there's one gentleman, Ian Anderson, here that I tried to recruit. So, but I'll tell you a story, Ian, that kind of links us up. I coached at a school. My first coaching job was at a school called the Harvard School. Harvard School is in Southern California, in the LA area. It was known as the School of the Stars. And we couldn't play baseball that well. We played in the South Bay, a tremendous baseball area where the Brett brothers played. We played in the same league. We had 11 players drafted in our league. I think I won 1 or 2 games. The claim to fame, our catcher threw out 1 runner the entire season. And the guy stole second base. The catcher threw the ball right on the money and hit the guy right on the cup. The guy rolls off the base, we tagged him out, and that probably was the best thing that happened that particular year. So it was a tough go for those years that I played there. But you know, thank God, Seton Hall came and played in the Riverside tournament out in California, and John Morris, who was kind enough to present me, was a part of that team. And Mike Shepard, as Billy talked about, somebody tapped me on the shoulder. Well, Mike Shepard, who I played for, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Come on back and let's get this thing done." I've been blessed to be a part of some great coaches and some great people, and there's some great people in this audience. I'd just like to share a couple of stories of some players that I've dealt with, and played for, and coached for. There's one gentleman that's on that wall over there. You might have heard that story about a young man named Anthony Varvaro. It just absolutely breaks my heart. Anthony Varvaro played for the Brooklyn Bonnies, played for a gentleman by the name of Darryl Teeble. And he played for me at St. John's. He was an All-American pitcher. Okay, he had a tremendous arm. His junior year, when he would have been drafted in the first round, hurts his arm the last game of our season against Villanova. And we lose him for the regular season. There's a pre-draft deal. Seattle signs him. You can see his uniform over here. He spends 5 years in the big leagues, mostly with Atlanta. Okay? And I'm coming back to you, Ian, because I'll finish that story about the Harvard school. So, what happened was, with Anthony, I was in extended, what they call right now, the COVID experience, and I was with the Mets, and I was at the alternate site, and I was the manager of the alternate site, and Rick Porcello would come in and tell, do pens, and he would tell me stories about different things. He told me a story about Anthony Varvaro. As they were sitting in spring training, they were talking about, what are you going to do after you play baseball? And Anthony Varvaro looks him straight in the eye and says, I'm going to be a Port Authority police officer. And of course, Rick Porcello, knowing Anthony, if you know Anthony, he had this funny humor. You couldn't believe what he was telling you. But 2 weeks later, he walks out of spring training with the Boston Red Sox, enrolls into the police academy, and becomes a police Port Authority officer. He was tragically killed by I'm going to have to say, a drunk driver coming the wrong way on his way to performing his duty at 9/11, where he was going to represent his organization. So, you've probably heard that story, but it's tragic. It's an absolute tragic story. I see Bob Fletcher in the audience tonight, and Mike Hampton and I recruited one of our great players out of this area too. Bob coached him for the Taconic Rangers by a gentleman by the name of Joe Panic. And so Joe was a heck of a player. He was a first rounder for us. Here's an interesting story. Back when you really had to work to scout. Now you don't have to scout anymore. All you have to do is look on Twitter, and you're going to find a lot of baseball players out there. And I'm telling you, it's tragic, but it's true. In the old days, you had to work and uncover players. So we always had connections to these gentlemen here. A lot of the scouts I would talk to. Ralph DeLullo was a name that popped up, but several of them. And you'd use these guys as resources. So I said, I got this big guy. They're playing in a ride tournament up in New York. Go up and see this guy. So I go up and watch, and I'm sitting there and watching this guy. He's a big guy. He's playing shortstop. He hits a home run, and next game I watch, he's catching, hits a home run. I say, this guy's pretty good. That pretty good guy was drafted by Matt Cesny. His name was Mo Vaughn. He was pretty good. Well, needless to say, he played for us his freshman year in college, and he batted about 120. But then he goes on and plays in the spring season, his 24 home runs. There's another guy, and I'm talking to my scout friends here, and the gentleman's name was Ed Ford. Ed Ford was called the Fa. He probably ran Jersey City. If you're familiar with the great basketball power of St. Anthony's High School and Bob Hurley, well, this chosen one was Willie Banks. Willie Banks was this great arm. He was a top-round draft pick. He played in the big leagues for several years. Probably may not have reached the stardom everybody expected him to be. But he pointed to a guy who played shortstop on there. He says, look at this guy over here. I said, hey, Fa, that guy's 5'7", he's 140 pounds soaking wet. What do you want me to do with him? Trust me, he's a good player. He's a good player. We ended up taking him as a walk-on player. And that player became a gentleman by the name of John Valentine, who played for the Boston Red Sox. Not a bad one. My last story, okay, was a gentleman by the name of Ed Mathis led me on to this young man who was a great football player out in Long Island. And he says, go out and watch this guy play, Blanks. I think you're going to like him. Well, I said, okay. And this guy, and the scouts know, when Eddie Mathis says he's a good player, you better go out and watch it, because nobody, not even Babe Ruth, was a good player for Eddie Mathis. So I go out and watch this guy play. Here he gets up, the first at bat, base hit. Okay, steals second, then he steals third. And I said, oh, that's good. Gets up the next at bat, he walks. Steals second, he steals third. I said, this guy's pretty good. Gets up again, gets another base hit. He steals second base. The coach on the opposing team hits the side of the backstop. Ping. The catcher throws the ball up in the air. The guy looks at it. He runs back, gets tagged out at first base. That player's name was Craig Biggio. That was my first experience with Craig Biggio. So I've been blessed, as John told you, to coach a lot of great players. I was always asked, why did I coach? Okay, like many of us in this room, we all wanted to be Major League Baseball players. I had the chance, I had the cup of coffee, but the reality came when probably the second series we played, I was in the Appalachian League playing for Baltimore, and I look and I watch the Bristol Tigers play, and there across playing short and second were Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker. And I said to myself, I better get a job. I'm not as good as these guys. I'll leave you with this. And I ask everybody in this room, I ask this question quite often. What is success? Think about it yourself, personally. What is success? Well, in the coaching world, typically it's winning. Okay? Wins and losses measures your success. Postseason plays, championships. That's success. But truthfully, the good coaches, it's all about relationships. It's all about relationships. That's what I treasure most about my time in my coaching career. My job was to let them and hopefully help them develop and chase their careers, teach them how to play this great game the right way. Now, I don't know the way we're teaching the game now, but, you know, the game is played the right way. It's a beautiful game. I know the analytics, and I, as a member of the organization with the Mets and minor league field coordinator with the Cubs, when somebody tells me, it's not important to strike out, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. So, I understand what you're telling me. But it's about development. Getting them to the next level, that's important to me. Teaching life lessons through the game of baseball. And if I did those things, hopefully I've impacted their lives. I'll leave in with the last answer to this question. That guy who hit the guy in the soft spot, Harvard School, was the Harvard Westlake School. One of his teammates played on the Harvard Westlake School by the name of Max Fried. And they had a great thing. Thank you very much tonight. Enjoy the evening.